Hello and welcome, everybody.
Hi. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Nikki. Thank you for joining tonight. Um, we are here today to discuss a pet loss support group specialist certificate that is brand new and starting this month. I'm going to be outlining our discussion for the next 30 to 40 minutes. And I want everyone to know that this is being recorded so we can share this with those who were not able to come tonight or those who were able and would like to view again. We have disabled the chat function, but there is a Q&A function. So please add any questions that you have to that, and either Lauren will answer your question directly, or Nikki and I can answer it live as we're finishing up and talking about the slides. So without further ado, I will go over tonight's agenda. So first, after I go over this agenda, I'm going to hand it over to Niki Vettel, who's going to explain a little bit about why she wanted to create this course and what her expertise were, what sort of experiences she's had that's led her here. We'll discuss the overview of the course, what you'll be learning, what will be covered, who are prospective students, so who are, the individuals who would benefit the most from taking this course, some frequently asked questions, and then we'll also have an opportunity to answer questions live from those of you who are here with us tonight. So I will now pass it over to Nikki, who will tell you a bit more and introduce herself to you all.
Thank you so much, Jess, and it's really fantastic to be here. This course has been a passion project of mine, so to be talking about it is really personally a milestone for me and wonderful. My background is sort of interesting, I think. I started my career as a public television executive and producer. And I did that for, I don't even want to confess how many decades I was doing that work. But I have always loved animals. I I was fortunate to have a mom who was basically a cat whisperer, and we always had cats. I was a kid, and I've never confessed this, Jess, publicly before, but I was very disappointed in the story of Beauty and the Beast when the Beast turned into a man because
Oh.
I really wanted Beauty to I wanted her to have the Beast as her significant other. Very
Mhm.
disappointed that he had to turn into a guy. I just thought like whatever he was as an animal was really far superior. But anyway, so
Probably better for
I
the teacup and the
yeah,
cloth. Those
probably. But
they
I was quite smitten with him. And this isn't the Disney version. This is the book. This is just the
Mm,
book that that I read. Then when I saw the
gotcha.
Disney version, I was even more convinced he should have stayed the Beast. But anyway, um, so I got a master's degree in communication from the University of Buffalo and started working in public television. And I did that for many, many, many years and had an opportunity to do lots of interesting things as doing that and producing programming and executive producing programming. And then in 20, I think it was like 20, I want to say 2010 or 2012 or something like that. I was, as we do sometimes, Googling some stuff on my computer, and I came across a term that was animal assisted therapy. And that was I thought, what is that? Pet therapy.
Mm,
And I kind of, as one does, fell into that rabbit hole and learned that there was such a thing as one could do pet therapy. And there was an organization called Pet Partners that allowed this, registered people. And there was even an organization in Massachusetts at the Tufts Veterinary College that was holding an evaluation for potential pet partner teams, and they needed volunteers. So I volunteered and I went there and I watched the evaluation, various teams, people, having to pass this evaluation. And at the end of the evaluation, I said to the woman who was running it, I said, "Oh, gosh, that looked really great. I don't have a dog, but I'm going to be getting a guinea pig." It's a sort of a backstory there. And so I wish I could do this. And she said these words that changed my life. She said, "Oh, we would love to have a guinea pig and human team here because Pet Partners recognizes 9 species that
Mm.
can be registered as pet therapy partners." And I am going to fast forward from 2015 to today, where I am doing pet partner visits with my current pet therapy registered guinea pig,
Mhm.
Hermie. Um, and that is one of the great joys of my life. But my first registered guinea pig was a little guy named Ralphie, and um, we ended up volunteering at a forensic psychiatric unit. And as a result of that volunteering, I realized that I wanted to make a big career change. And I applied and was accepted into a program to get a master's in clinical counseling psychology. And I did that program. And I was fortunate because every time I had a project or a paper or whatever, I would ask the professor if I could do it from an animal assisted therapy perspective. And they were all very intrigued and said yes. So I graduated with my degree in clinical counseling psychology and got a job as a group therapist at a small behavioral hospital where I was working with adults who were in substance recovery and what's called the general sort of psychiatric population. At that time, I had 2 guinea pigs, Stuart and Calvin, and I incorporated them into my therapy groups. And it was really wonderful and quite transformational to watch. I also really learned so much about group therapy. And I really believe that a peer support group, a therapy group can be also transformational for the people who are in it. So that leads to now I actually am a graduate of the companion animal doula program, where my mentor has been Matilda Garrido. I don't know how many of you know her, but she's wonderful. And she brought me into UVM, so I've taught that course. And then I co-created the grief and bereavement specialist course with her. And I have to say that all the time I was constantly saying I'd really like to do a pet loss support group course, and she
Mhm.
encouraged me, and so did the wonderful people at the program. So that brings us to today. That is my journey to this. So I bring to the course my background as a companion animal doula, as a animal assisted therapy practitioner, as a volunteer pet partner practitioner, and with a deep appreciation and understanding of the grief process. So that's how we are today. I will say Hermie and I are we visit Harvard Medical School twice a month. He is a rock star. I'm very secondary to this, and we provide stress relief for the entire Harvard medical community, the med school, the Chan School of Public Health, the dental school, students, faculty, doctors. And I also have been a guest teacher here at UVM, actually, in the animal sciences program, talking about animal assisted therapy and pet loss and bereavement, as well as a guest lecturer at Tufts University in an undergraduate psych class there. So I'm living the topic, shall we say.
Yes, and we're so lucky to have you, Nikki. And we have this wonderful picture of you and with your bio, and we can also leave a little Easter egg for others to say that Hermie may also be making an
Hermie may be
appearance
making an
during this presentation. So stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Right, right.
Um, so yeah, can you tell us a little bit more
About
about why we need this type
yes,
of specialist?
yes, absolutely. So the field of pet loss and bereavement is growing and growing. Every day I see a new book on pet loss to help a grieving pet parents. But parallel to that, there's been a tremendous amount of research, gold standard research that's being done about the effects of pet loss, the way that pet loss reflects aspects and dimensions of human grief. And throughout this is the thread that pet loss in our culture is what's called disenfranchised grief. It's an unvalidated grief. And if those of you who are here, I would imagine, probably love animals and probably have pets, you may know that as much as we love animals, not everybody in the world has the same empathy. And so somebody whose beloved cat dies and is sad and is crying may hear from somebody, it was just a cat, or,
Mhm.
well, you can go on vacation now, right? You could never go on vacation because you always had to get a cat sitter, or other comments that are basically dismissive of the devastating pain that accompanies the loss of our pets. So, one of the things that is so important to do is to validate people's grief, to normalize it, to let them know, no, you're not crazy. I mean, I find that I say that to a lot of the people that I work with who are so, so very sad, so very upset, and will say things like, I must be crazy. I'm crying more for my dog than I did for my dad. And
Mhm.
I always say, it's a different relationship. It's a different relationship. You don't compare them. You were with your dog 24/7. You took care of your dog the way we take care of infants. We have to feed them. We have to walk them. We have to play with them. We have to bathe them throughout their entire lives. And the loss of that companion, the loss of that soulmate, is as acute a grief as the grief of a loved human being. So
Mhm.
we need people who are trained to be able to support those who are grieving the loss of their pets. And that's really one of the most important elements of taking the time and making the commitment to learn how to facilitate a pet loss um, support group.
What distinguishes ours? Oh, oh,
Well, who is that in the corner?
yep, I know. There it is. Spoiler, it was a
Okay,
lot closer.
that's actually Hermie at Harvard being fed one of his favorite treats, which is a strawberry. And I will just say this because, I obviously I'm the proud mother of this little rock star. The students at the Harvard Countway Medical Library, there's a bulletin board, and the question was, what would you like to see more of at the library? And there were pieces of paper that students could fill out. And so people said things like, oh, we'd like, bottles of water, maybe a hot water maker for tea, things like that. And there's one thing that said, more Hermie. And underneath that, someone wrote, me too. And underneath that, someone wrote times three. So what can I say? He really does help people tremendously. But what
Mhm,
distinguishes our course, and I'm very proud of this. First of all, it's evidence-based. So there's a lot of really interesting, intriguing reading that is coming from some of the best research that's being done. I'm also really proud that two of the leading human researchers in the field of pet loss and grief and anthrozoology were more than happy to be willing to be interviewed. So they're in the course, along with a very experienced um, pet grief counselor. He is the author of one of the two books that is required for the course. He also runs a very, very popular and wonderful online pet grief support group.
mhm,
There's a veterinarian, actually my veterinarian, who is a exotics pet veterinarian, and we talk about the loss of exotic pets because people can come to a pet loss support group and it's not just dogs and cats, it's rabbits, it's guinea pigs, it's bearded dragons, it's somebody's turtle, it's somebody's bird. So it's important that people understand the bond that happens, and that happens, those losses can be double disenfranchisement. Because if you think that you might not get a lot of empathy when you tell somebody that your cat has died, imagine the role of somebody who says, my pet snake died, and what people's response might be to that, you know. And that snake would have been very important to that person, regardless of your feeling about snakes. That snake would have been important to that person. So we have all these different perspectives. We also continue the foundational principles that are so important in all of the UVM end of life courses. There are three foundational principles that no matter what course you take, you will learn how to put these into practice. And that's companioning and unconditional positive regard and beginner's mind. This is a very unique element of the UVM end of life programs, and that is carried through this course as well. And I guess the other thing I would want to say is that the focus of the course is on the big emotions that people will bring to a pet loss support group. So we do a deep dive into the emotion of yearning, the emotion of guilt. Guilt is it plays such a role. No matter if your friends tell you you were the most perfect pet parent in the world, when your pet passes, generally people will feel some aspect of guilt. It's important to understand that dimension of guilt and anger. Anger often accompanies pet loss. So we go over all of those and we take four of the best known grief models that are used to help humans kind of navigate through their grief, and we apply those and look at those through the lens of pet loss.
There's one
And
question,
yeah,
Nikki, sorry to interrupt,
sure.
about will service animals be
Yes, in
addressed?
fact, yes, we do address the death of service animals, therapy animals, emotional support animals. Yes, actually, Dr. Laurie Kogan, who is one of the leading lights of research in pet loss and grief, uh, discusses that
Right.
in our interview. And I would just say one other thing, and I bring this over as from my experience as a group therapist. What's included is is learning how to facilitate a group and use expressive therapies and psychoeducation. So expressive therapies can be so helpful for grieving pet parents. Um, Words
Can
are
you tell us a little bit about what that entails, expressive therapies?
sure expressive therapies. For example, um, writing a haiku, learning the structure of a haiku, and inviting people to write some haiku about their beloved pet that has died
Okay.
is
Right.
is can be wonderful. Um, Learning one of the things that is a really lovely thing to do is do rock painting, but not just for yourself. Perhaps do some rock painting with the name of your pet or some words that you want to honor your pet with, and then we will bring them and leave them in the community so that other people can find a beautiful rock with the name of a pet and something meaningful.
Mm.
Because when we open our hearts, even when we're in grief, when we open our hearts to other people, it's very healing. So we'll be exploring those kinds of techniques that students will learn how to incorporate into a group, as well as psychoeducation. And psychoeducation is kind of this fancy word for teaching people about, in this case, grief, teaching about the fact that grief is a roller coaster, that grief doesn't happen in a linear fashion, that there will be waves of grief, there will be ups, there will be downs. And so I've assembled some really cool materials for that as well. Some of this, if a person has taken the grief and bereavement course, um, because I worked on that too. Some of the material is similar, but of course we're now applying it in a different in a different way.
There was another question relating to another one of our courses in the end of life doula portfolio,
Uh-huh.
the companion animal end of life doula
Sure. Yeah.
course and program for which you also are an instructor.
Yeah.
And someone was asking how similar are these two courses? So can you maybe outline what the difference would
Yes.
be between
Yes.
our
Yeah.
companion animal end of life course
Yeah.
and this pet loss support group specialist course?
Sure. Sure. I'm happy to do that, and it's a great question. So in the companion animal doula course, we spend time understanding the history and the background of the hospice and the doula movement, and we look at um, things like a quality of life scale, how to support people whose animal, whose beloved pet, has gotten a terminal diagnosis, and what are the ways that we can be supportive, whether that is accompanying someone to a veterinary appointment or helping them create a hospice-like environment in their home. So the emphasis is on supporting the, I'll say, human end of the leash,
Hmm.
and with an understanding that the pet is going to die or is actively dying. This course is a it's a very good follow-up because this course now picks up with that pet owner who has maybe had a doula support, but now is dealing with the reality of the absence of that pet in their life. It's touched on a little bit in the doula course, but not in any great depth because the emphasis is on all of this other material. So we are talking about grief and bereavement in this course, and supporting that aspect. We do talk about anticipatory grief, which is also covered in the companion animal doula course, but in our course we are talking about it through the lens of a grief model. So, and how perhaps if someone who is in anticipatory grief is in a grief support group, um, some of those expressive therapies may be helpful to that person. Some of that psychoeducation may be helpful to that person. So I hope that makes it clear.
Yes,
Again,
thank you.
person, yeah,
Thank
sure.
you, Nikki. And we are coming close to time, so we're gonna kind of maybe go through some of these slides a little bit quicker. So we just want to make sure we can answer any live questions. But uh, thinking about who this course would be best for, here are, some of the audience that could gain skills and knowledge.
Right.
Um, Anything in particular, Nikki, you feel about if somebody is questioning, is this course for me?
Well, I think that if you are involved with animals, and also if you're a therapist, I'm an advisor to the Tufts Pet Loss Hotline at from the Cummings Veterinary School, and someone was just saying that they've had people who've gone to a therapist, and the therapist has said, "I'm sorry, I don't do pet loss." So, if there are
Mm.
any therapists out there who want to add to your, I guess I'd say your, your toolkit, your understanding and knowledge of grief and how to work with somebody a client who's had this. And even the frontline vet staff, I mean, client services, but also a therapy pet handler. And finally, somebody who, you may be in your community, you may just know that there are people in your community who are posting on the Facebook page, my cat ran away, my dog ran away, my animal just died. So a community support group can also be done by somebody who just cares a lot about animals. All right. So I think the tent is pretty big for this.
I'm going to go to the next slide that goes over some of the basic, details
Sure.
about that it's 100% online course, 4 weeks, starting April 27th. So it's really important to register by the 20th because seats are filling. $725 tuition for the 4 weeks. There you get continuing education credits and a professional certificate.
Hmm.
I have included, there's our website also in the corner. I see more questions coming in. There are some frequently asked questions here that we can go over
Sure.
um, to talk about what that online learning looks like.
Hmm.
I saw another one pop up that maybe we can answer and then go into these is, will
Sure.
the course address how to manage group dynamics? For
Yes.
instance, when
Oh,
somebody
sorry.
comes in with fresh trauma or needs a higher level of care.
Yes. I mean, one of the things that we always want to make sure people understand is that if you're running a peer support group, you're not a therapist. And if someone comes in and they have had a traumatic pet death, uh, you may be able to help them in the group, but you may want to refer them out to somebody who is a licensed professional. So there is actually a handbook that everyone is going to get. It's called the Nitty Gritty Guide to Facilitating a Pet Loss Support Group, and that covers a lot of the information. But one of the things I want to say is there's going to be a live Zoom, and I'm going to be holding office hours every week. So both of those will be opportunities for us, the students, to be talking in real time to each other and addressing some of those questions. But yes, the facilitating a group and group dynamics are certainly covered in the course.
And so, can you go over just generally what a typical week in the course looks like for, say, somebody who is adult learner with a full-time job.
Sure, sure. So, the interesting thing about online courses is that the course, the folks in the course called the cohort create a community. And because you are not only responding to prompts and activities and questions that are in the course that I've created, but you are also responding to your fellow students. So each week there will be readings and some kind of media, whether it's video, a TED Talk, something like that.
Mhm.
And and then and I've tried in each week that there's an activity that actually takes you away from your computer. And some of this will be, I think people will actually enjoy what these activities are. And it's nothing crazy, um, but it does put you sort of more in touch with actually interacting with the human animal bond. So there'll be an activity like that. And between the readings and the thinking and all that, thinking about it and responding, I think will be, you know, it will all be very doable.
And so you mentioned there are live sessions. We had
Mhm.
one question about when do you know when this will be, and is it mandatory?
Okay. Yeah.
What's
The
that?
the Zoom is optional and
Okay.
the office hours are optional. It's your opportunity if you want to have some face-to-face time, you can have that. Um, And I think at this point, I think maybe the Zoom, I have to double check, but the Zoom might actually be the first week of the course. So everybody can sort of meet, and if you want to get to know the other your other students, because you are going to be interacting with them, you're going to be exchanging ideas and responding to ideas.
And so how do students interact with you as the instructor and with each other?
Through writing. Primarily through writing. So you will learn about the platform that UVM uses, which is called Brightspace. And I don't want anybody to go like, I'm not technical, you can use it. I'm going to say this. If I could learn how to use it, anybody anybody could learn how to use it. We also have a wonderful tech staff. So you sign in to Brightspace, you go to the course, and everything that you need is in each module each week, including the discussions and how to answer the questions and how to respond to each other. So that's all how that works. And interestingly, because when I took my first online course, because you're writing and you're thinking so much, you really, excuse me, you really get to know each other. It's quite cool.
Thank you for explaining too. So the next question about how do online courses work? So that's not like some type of app or anything. There's a website and you'll log in as a student and all the
Mhm.
materials will be there and it
It's
will
right there. It's
that
right there. And I truly, I just don't, I remember being being wary the first online course I took, which was years ago. And when I learned it, I was like, well, th this is easy. So like anything, you feel like, uh-oh, I don't know, but we're all here to support everyone. And like I said, and the tech support people are great. So you don't have to be some wizard. You'll learn how to you as soon as you learn how to sign in onto the UVM website, you're off and running.
great. Thank you. A few more questions I'm seeing here coming in live. So our final FAQ is what will I receive at the end of the course?
Okay. So
And
you
then one more, and then to add one more question, it seems to be coming up about the live Zoom. Do you know? that or when your office hours will be? Is it at the same time?
Okay, well, I haven't set the office hours yet,
Okay.
but they'll be once a week for an hour, and if we need more than an hour, we can do that. Um, and I can actually vary them. So if some people only can do things on the weekend, I can have one week where I do office hours on the weekend. I mean, the nice thing about this is it's a very flexible structure. And so we want to make sure that we can be available. I can be available to everyone. And what you receive at the end is a certificate. It's not a certification, but it's a
Mhm.
professional certificate. Coming from having a professional certificate from a university, especially University of Vermont, is very meaningful. And you also have the opportunity to say in your signature line that you are an affiliate of the Osher Center for Integrative Health, which is a highly respected um, organization of health centers around the country. And being an affiliate of that enables you to attend certain events that they have. So, and I think there's more about that, but you get a certificate. And
Yep.
you
So
can
thank you. And
say
it's
that you have a professional certificate.
yes, and it's so it's not credit. There's no credits
No
associated,
credit.
but it's a
Right.
professional certificate
Yes.
from the University of Vermont. And we have included here again the website in case anyone would like to look at more information or, register or look for when future courses will be held. There are some questions I see here about maybe future courses, and so this will run multiple times a year. One question for you, Nikki. Will the course touch upon the holistic or spiritual side of when a pet transitions?
I'm glad that you asked because yes, in the fourth module, there is a topic on spirituality, religion, and animal death. And I think I mentioned that there is actually, she's a colleague, an Episcopalian priest who also is a pet therapy handler, and she is a pet chaplain as well. So she talks about it, and I put together a series of readings about spirit animals and the Judeo-Christian approach to pet loss. So we do address that.
Thank you. Is this content similar to what we might find in a veterinary social work course? Or how is it different,
Well,
maybe?
yeah. So a veterinary social worker is it's a licensed professional therapist. So
Hmm.
their background and training is going to be um, on therapeutic interventions. And that's not what we're doing here. I mean, there may be, I know a veterinary social worker who runs a pet loss support group. So, different people can do that. But veterinary social workers are usually found at, um, I want to say, large animal clinics and at some shelters, depends on the shelter. Again, and also the social worker may be extending their help to someone who perhaps is also having some food insecurity. They're looking at that person's life in the community after their pet has died, and that's not what our group would be doing, or that's what you would be trained to do. Does that make
I think
sense?
Yeah, I think there's one more question that we didn't get to because you did speak a little bit about the line between grief and therapy and how
Hmm.
um you'd be discussing that. But um will there be any kind of role play or practicum with various aspects of running groups?
There is an activity that the students will be assigned to run a group, to run a practice group.
Okay.
And we'll be reflecting on what that experience was like. But no, what in terms of as part of the course, role play, no, there's, but you do have an activity to go out and run a group. And
And
also
practice.
a requirement is to attend a pet loss group as well.
Okay. Thank you so much, Nikki. And I'm so excited for this course. So happy that your journey has taken you towards creating this because I knew that this was something you were passionate about and wanted to do, and that it is already speaking to people and answering a need that is out there.
Right.
So again, thank you all for attending or for viewing. Please check out our website, and we hope to see you in the course.
Thank you, Jess. Thank you so much. And all of you. Thank you. Thank you for for attending tonight. It's wonderful. I hope to see you.
Take care.